Coming up on Mountain News this morning, an Eastern Kentucky community gathers to say one final goodbye to a football legend.
And Kentucky struggles to get its workforce back on track, leaving business leaders looking elsewhere for opportunities.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Well, good Tuesday morning to you. I'm Dakota Makris.
And I'm Chas Gayhart. Thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. Let's go back over to the Weather Center and check in with our buddy Brandon, who's back with us today.
Me? You talking about me?
Guess who's back? Back again.
That's me. B-Rob's back. Tell a friend. But yes, it is one of those situations this morning where I'm glad to be back with you. I'm just glad, or not glad to see what's going on outside. So yeah, foggy conditions out there this morning. We're looking at dry conditions though, so that's some good news, but you'll be dealing with that fog for a while this morning. Low visibility pretty much across the region. Many spots near zero visibility, so just kind of keep that in mind. Temperatures 50s and low 60s as you head out the door, so kind of a comfortable mild morning across the state and region. 57 Paducah, 61 Cincinnati and Ashland, 64 in Nashville, and 60 in Charleston, West Virginia. 73 the average high for today. 79 is the forecast high, and 88 is the record. Back to 2019. We can't get out of that hot weather from just 2 years ago. Guys?
Thank you, Brandon. Well, the Johnson County community gathered for a celebration of life Monday as loved ones say they sent Coach Jim Matney off to the True Hall of Fame. After decades of coaching and teaching young minds while advocating for his mountain people, Matney died last week, leaving a school, community, and region reeling as they remember the way he always stood for and walked in his beliefs.
His words were powerful, and I think we could all derive that from any pregame or postgame speech that he ever gave. But what was a part of what made Coach Jim Matney great, the fabric of the man that each one of you knew, was his actions.
Loved ones say he was all about football, family, and faith, and they all feel like better humans for carrying a part of him with them every day.
A newly expanded clinic located within UK Healthcare's Kentucky Clinic in Lexington is aiming to treat COVID-19 in children using monoclonal antibody infusion.
Adam Burniston spoke to the experts about how they hope to keep hospitals from filling up.
As the pandemic continues with the Delta variant spreading across the country, infection rates among children have increased significantly, which has been seen here in Kentucky.
Since July 30th, we have had 6 times as many admissions to Kentucky Children's Hospital for severe or critical COVID-19 infection in children than we had for the entirety of the pandemic prior to July 30th.
But now that the FDA gave emergency authorization use of monoclonal antibody infusions for children 12 and older, Kentucky Children's Hospital set up the Specialty Infusion Clinic to be the state's primary site for pediatric patients. And with this treatment, they're hoping it will help stem the tide of rising infection rates and keep hospitals from being overcrowded.
Being able to offer this therapy, which should hopefully be able to take some of those kids who are infected and be able to keep them at home and keep them from ever winding up within our walls of our hospital, and certainly without winding up in our ICU on a ventilator.
Now, while this treatment has been authorized for patients 12 and older and has been proven to prevent serious illness and even hospitalization, experts say getting the vaccine is still the first and best line of defense.
Everyone who is eligible for monoclonal antibody infusion is also eligible for immunization. So this is being used for those people who have been immunized or have a breakthrough infection, or what we're seeing much more commonly, which is the infections in children who have not been immunized.
And according to Dr. McTighe, this monoclonal antibody infusion treatment is the most effective and safe for patients infected by COVID-19, as the antibodies are designed to specifically attack the coronavirus. In Lexington, Adam Burniston, WKYT.
Well, this new clinic and other facilities are for adults are only accepting patients by referral. That means you'll have to talk to your primary care provider first to see if your child might be eligible.
We have a full list of what might qualify your child in this story on WYMT.com. And in the spring of 2020, you might remember that Governor Andy Beshear, by executive order, released inmates in prisons and jails that were overcrowded to help slow the spread of COVID. On Monday, Governor Beshear said his team only released inmates who were nonviolent and non-sexual offenders. But the Kentucky GOP says that is not true.
This is a broad-based, throw the net out. Anybody who meets these qualifications, which, by the way, weren't the qualifications that he set in advance.
Governor Beshear did push back on the report, saying he did not agree with some of the metrics, but added his administration will be looking into what was done.
Well, the Commonwealth surpassed 700,000 total cases of COVID-19, and we are inching closer to 9,000 deaths, but hospitalizations, the positivity rate and case numbers continue to decrease. Now, the governor announced 1,239 new cases of COVID yesterday, increasing the statewide total to 700,393. There were 26 new deaths reported as well. This brings the death total to 8,906. The positivity rate is a little more than 9%, and you can always find the latest COVID-19 information over on our website at WYMT.com.
For almost 19 months now, healthcare workers and others have gone into work every day during the pandemic. Governor Beshear says he wants to reward all of the workers deemed essential.
Well, as Chad Hedrick explains, the governor hopes it will help businesses keep employees, as many are still facing staffing shortages.
For a year and a half, frontline and essential workers have come face to face with the risk of being exposed to COVID-19, and surges like this most recent one have hospitals pushing their limits.
In the emergency room, we're packed full. I mean, there are days when there are 20, 30 people out in the lobby waiting for a bed.
Through the trying times, doctors and nurses have gone into their hospitals to save lives and treat those facing the toughest battles against COVID.
I mean, we are struggling. It's hard to see that much loss and that much heartache and palpable sorrow for such a long period of time.
Monday, Governor Beshear announced plans to reward those on the front lines and other essential workers by using $400 million in American Rescue Plan money to give bonuses for those who have worked through the pandemic dating back to March 6th, 2020.
And as we are on month 18, almost 19 of this pandemic, it's important to have something out there to continue to push them to move on. Something to look forward to, something that you could call a reward or a hero bonus.
The governor says in the coming days he will send the recommendation and the framework for the plan to the General Assembly. He says a working group of lawmakers and the executive branch will need to work together to go through who is deemed qualified and how much is given.
There need to be a lot of details that get worked through, and that needs to have a lot of collaboration, and we hope cooperation.
In Frankfort, Chad Hedrick, WKYT.
Examples of who could qualify for the bonus include teachers, first responders, grocery store employees, and factory workers.
Now, the plan won't reach Kentucky's General Assembly until the regular session in January. Well, the workforce participation rate in Kentucky is the third worst in the nation at about 56.3%. Nearly 1.5 million adult Kentuckians are out of the workforce. This leaves business owners looking for employees and other leaders looking elsewhere for expansion and investment. Authors of a report on the crisis from the Kentucky Chamber Foundation see a crisis but offer solutions to avoid it.
We really need to tackle this from a whole variety of different vantage points. And that means we're going to need to do a lot of policy changes in order to get this done. One thing is not going to cut it. We need dozens of policy changes to tackle this problem.
The authors of the report hope to see changes in immigration and tax policy and will be working towards multiple goals during the next legislative session. And in the Commonwealth and nationwide, businesses are struggling to find employees. This hiring crisis is affecting larger companies. Employees at companies from Men's Warehouse to Kroger are struggling as companies look for people to fill vacancies.
It's got harder for employees, plus we're lower staffed anyway after COVID. It just started weighing on people, so slowly they just started finding other jobs.
We are struggling a little bit to fill open roles, and right now we're focusing on gearing up for flu season, for the holiday selling season.
The hiring spree is nationwide. Kroger is trying to set itself apart by increasing hourly benefits to $20 an hour. And officials with Walmart say they're looking for 150,000 associates ahead of the holidays.
Just after 6:10 here on this Tuesday morning, we're tracking some dense fog. No rain just yet, but that's on the way up from the south. Let's take a look at those fog numbers this morning, and you'll see that they're in the single digits, close to zero. Moorhead, Richmond, Williamsburg, and then you see a couple other spots there that are about half a mile or a little bit more than half a mile. So just continue to be careful out there. Anything less than 5 miles is pretty rough. You see that fog trying to form over the interstate there in Corbin, Interstate 75, but not too much up on US 119, higher elevations of Whitesburg and Pine Mountain. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s this morning, from 57 out towards Somerset and Hazard to 63 on top of the ridge there at the National Weather Service office at Jackson. 79 today. Scattered chances come later, PM chances for the most part. As we look ahead with our headlines, back and forth on those rain chances, but a drier weekend comes our way heading into this weekend, but those milder temperatures will continue. Dakota?
All right, Brandon, thank you so much, and thank you for joining Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. When we come back, a landmark drug trial begins, potentially spelling big trouble for giants in the pharmaceutical world.